Hello and welcome to Realm's Edge Gaming. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at the new Kurnothi model that was released as the next hero in the Warhammer Quest Cursed City. So this dropped the other day and it was all about the next hero that would be playable within the Warhammer Quest game. And I have to say that with each kind of new kind of review of each model, the game is becoming more and more interesting, at least in my opinion. So it says Cursed City. This is the kind of town crier introducing it, and it says, hear ye, vengeance has come to Ulfan Khan. From the woods come the ruin of the undead. I am the Cursed City crier, and I bring you news of our salvation. I also bring the best fried rat in the city. Eat well and help control the rodent problem now. And it says that last week we looked at the Ulfan Watch, who were the skeleton militiamen who've been terrorising the Cursed City, and now we're looking at Qualphys the Exile, one of the new Warhammer Quest game heroes. And it goes on to say that basically she lost her home and family, and she's come to the Cursed City to seek vengeance on those who she believes took everything from her. And it goes on to kind of allude to the fact that she's pretty well prepared, and that they hope that they're ready for what she has brought. Now, like, as soon as I saw the kind of image on the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Facebook page, it actually surprised me, because my first thought wasn't that it was a Kurnothi. My first thought was that it was a wanderer, or a wood elf of old, like I suppose that from the Sylvaneth. I used to play wood elves back in the world that was, and so really when I kind of joined Age of Sigmar, I actually didn't play Sylvaneth. I kind of picked up Gloomspite Gits, and I kind of lost track of the lore and things like that. So when I initially saw the model, it didn't strike me as being Kurnothi, because my experience of them was back in Beastgrave, and I'm thinking of those ones with the kind of red fiery hair, and I think they were almost like Centaur-esque, I guess. And this one actually reminded me, back in the world that was, there was a wood elf lord, and he kind of had blonde hair, he had all the green kind of things. I think he was standing on like a tree stump, and he had like a sword as well. They even had like the kind of horn motif as well, like with the antlers. So the image of the Kurnothi and this picture here reminded me a lot more of the wood elves of old, I suppose, the wanderers we'd call them now. I think they used to call them the Azrai. And it kind of got me thinking straight away, like, I was hopeful that they would bring the Wanderers back into Age of Sigmar. I'm thinking about the Glade Guard, the Glade Riders, I suppose the Wood Elves, but I appreciate that, Games Workshop were kind of going down the route of trying, no pun intended, going down the route of trying to trademark their models. And, like we saw the Tomb Kings fall by the wayside, and we got the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. The Bretonnians became the Flesh Eater Courts, apparently. And maybe, the Wood Elves have kind of gone the same way, and they've become, the Kurnothi. I know that the Sylvaneth have got the Kurnoth Hunters. But I have to be honest, like, this aesthetic, this kind of more Wood Elfy aesthetic, appealed to me a lot more. I was really disappointed when Games Workshop dropped the kind of Wanderers from the Sylvaneth list, and it was a lot more focus on the Dryads and the kind of spites and sprites of the forest. So that was my first thoughts upon seeing the image there. I think it's it's quite a simple drawing, but it's quite evocative as well. And then we get to the model. And the model didn't disappoint by any stretch. So it says about the realm of Garan, there's a strange annex called, I hope I don't butcher this, but Engala Weald, once known only to the Sylvaneth. Then the Soulblight came. Qualphys and her kin fought a savage guerrilla war against the vampiric invaders, but they could not match the brute strength and the resilience of their undead foes. Qualphys' clan lost hope and withdrew, seeking to restart their lives elsewhere. Qualphys, however, refused to give up and vowed to bring true death to the vampires, even though her elders expressly forbade it. With her blade and her bow, she made her way to Ulfenkhan to seek her revenge. And that is a brilliant model. So I didn't, upon seeing it first time, and I've kind of explained that I kind of thought it was more Wanderer-esque rather than the Kurnothi that I kind of knew. The pose really reminds me of like the war dancers back in the world that was, the Wood Elves. It's super dynamic. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Despite being dynamic, I still think it's got really good kind of like a point of contact. And as seems to be the way, we can tell that she's special because she stood on a rock. I like the antlers and the actual kind of, as I said, the dynamicism of it. There's kind of the braided hair. There's like loads of really cool texture. Like we've got cloth, we've got metal, we've got kind of like bone or horn. We've got hair, fur. It would be great fun to paint that model. And I actually really like the colour scheme that they've gone for. It's kind of drab and muted, kind of to, I suppose, express the kind of camouflage. And I like how the curvature of the bow is kind of mirrored there in the antlers. And we've got that red gemstone there, which I suppose echoes the artwork that we've just looked at. So I think the actual model itself is brilliant. And I'm kind of intrigued to think how this will play out. As I said to you before, I've never really played Warhammer Quest. I don't know whether we're going to have to buy the models separately, or if we're going to have, if they're going to be included in the kind of the starter kit, the pack, the Cursed City boxed game. I really don't know. I guess time will tell. But as I've kind of mentioned in previous videos, I really would, based on this model and the ones that we've seen so far, hope that we get the AOS War Scrolls, and I really do hope that they develop these models into various factions, or at least make them compatible with the ones that are running currently. I really hope that Games Workshop have seen the kind of feedback, the reactions that these models have got online in the various kind of spheres that you can see them in, and that, I don't know about your opinion at the moment with this one, but from the others and speaking with other people, it genuinely seems to be very positive. So let's read a little bit more and then we'll go on to the Cursed City website. It says, before leaving, she took an arm-thick splinter of the oak of ages past. This was the tree that was sacred to all of elvenkind, and Quel'This fashioned it into many magical arrows, which we can see there in the quiver. That was better to slay the undead monstrosities that haunt the streets of Ulfenkhan. Now, as it says in the article, the Oak of Ages was something that was mentioned back in the world that was, and I imagine in the new Sylvaneth Battle Tome 2. And it was kind of interesting thinking about the trees again, because we saw Jelson, the vampire hunter from the Order of Azir. He said that he'd got some, was it Axion firewood, so that his arrows burst into flame, or the stakes burst into flame. It's interesting that again we've got kind of more magical woods as well for this character. So let's go onto the website and we can learn a little bit more about Quel'This. So we're going to go down here. We've had the Agents of Defiance, and we've learned about Jelson Derek. And we can go over here to Quel'This the Exile. Quel'This has vowed to hunt the vampire that slaughtered her kin, despite being forbidden to do so. We've learnt that, and it says, there's a bit of a quote here. You are not my people. I have no kin. In place of cowardice, I choose exile and disgrace. Yet, if my aim is true, I may still earn revenge, and perhaps even an iota of atonement. Now, we can see that there are a lot more Agents of Defiance than Overlords of Ulfenkhan. So it will be interesting to see, maybe next week we'll get an Overlord, and then we'll have to have an Agent, and then another Agent, how they actually stagger this, because otherwise we're going to kind of run out of the good guys, I suppose. The bad guys, and have just good guys towards the end. I'm not really sure how they're going to do it, but I do like the way that they're doing it at the moment, with having every Thursday a new hero kind of revealed. Just before we kind of finish off, I would like to kind of go to the graphic here, which is all about exploring the Cursed City. because Qualthis, I think, fits rather well into one of these that we've seen. So we've seen Varngate, which was the Skeletal Legions, which is the ones we looked at last week. We've got the Van Alten, which was the Skydocs. I imagine that's where we're kind of going to see the Caradron Overlord playable character. We've got the Hangman's Copse. Now this is where I think we'll meet Qualthis, because it's the bat-infested site of a former Sylvaneth embassy. So I think narratively this character would fit brilliantly into this part of the story of the progression of the Cursed City. And it would be really interesting to see how they go about that, whether we'll see any kind of undead Sylvaneth or kind of even darker versions that have been tainted by corruption, but we'll have to wait and see. Well, anyway, that's kind of my review of what we've seen so far. I'd love to get your opinion on it too. What did you think of the model? Do you think we'll end up with a Kurnothi faction further down the line? Is it something you'd even like to see? Thanks for joining me once again. If you've not subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you could do so. If you could drop a like and a comment below, I'd love to speak with you about what we've seen and what might be in the Cursed City expansion pack when it's released. Thanks for joining me. Bye.